Instagram, for example, is a huge mechanism for B2C marketing. But for B2B, it doesn't generate as much, because it's easy to post a product on Instagram and say, here, click here. But then when you're doing more B2B outreach, you're tending to focus more on reaching high level, in my industry, at least in the tech industry, reaching high level decision makers, because the products that my clients are selling are like multi-billion-dollar infrastructures.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the Engati Engage series. And today we have the pleasure of welcoming Chelsea Andrews to our interview series. I'm Drishti Shah from the Engati team, and let's begin with just a quick intro of Engati. So Engati is the world's leading multilingual no-code chatbot platform, available across 14 channels with 25,000 bots created across 186 countries in every domain and use case. We run the Engati blog and video channel, which receives upwards of 300,000 visitors annually. And for our guest, Chelsea Andrews is the co-founder of Tech Marketing with a Twist. Over the last decade, she has been working with tech companies of all types and sizes to strategize, plan, and implement winning marketing campaigns. She helps technology companies connect with tech professionals on a massive scale to be influencer and thought leadership marketing, integrated media campaign, content production, and events. She specializes in B2B influencer marketing, brand amplification, and channel growth, content creation and marketing, and event production within the technology industry. So hi Chelsea, we are really thrilled to have you here.
Hi Vanessa, thank you so much for having me.
So I'd like to begin with the first question that we have is, how is influencer marketing growing, and how important is it in the B2B market?
Yeah, that is a great question. Influencer marketing in the B2B space is really exponentially just growing like crazy. At the beginning of February, there was a report launched by one of the publications that I follow, which is called Influencer Marketing Hub, where they projected over 9 billion industry in the influencer marketing space. Now that also includes the B2C sector. It's kind of looking at influencer marketing as a whole. But there's just a lot of opportunity from a B2B perspective to leverage the strategies. We work with some of the largest tech companies in the world on their B2B influencer campaigns. And really what it is thought leadership driven content creation and promoting out through their channels. So what we do is when we work with clients on launches or any content that they're putting out, or event promotion or any kind of demos or anything that they're doing, we put together a team of, it depends, from 5 all the way up to 30 influencers and get involved in a campaign and produce long format content like blog posts, video interviews. Right now, obviously, everything is digitally based. So doing video series, podcasts, to talk about a brand in the context of the entire tech ecosystem. So as you know, it's hard for brands to just constantly be pushing out their own products, their own messaging out through their channels. It's really beneficial to have third-party perspectives that can help place your company into the entire context and support your brand through things like interviews and really kind of contextualizing what companies are doing. So there's a lot of opportunity in the space for B2B brands, and I urge everybody now to really strongly consider the approach, especially now that things like events aren't going to be happening for the foreseeable future. We need to get creative in how we share with the world what we're working on.
Yeah. So with the ongoing pandemic, like you just mentioned, so do you think that there is a rise in this approach people are taking, or people are still reluctant to go about it?
That's a good question. I think the reluctancy is more around the unknowns than around it not working. So for example, some companies, it's really hard to put these campaigns together. I know firsthand, I've been doing it for going on 4 years now. And so I know the challenges of being able to find the right people to work with, the right influencers to work with, being able to identify the right kind of content you can promote and produce. So there's a lot of variables and a lot of challenges, and a lot of companies just aren't quite sure where to start, and also aren't quite sure what the KPIs and metrics should be to make sure that the campaigns are hitting their targets and their goals. So it is a new approach, and I would say every single company and every single campaign has its own unique set of KPIs. So it's not a silver bullet, and it really is all about testing and being agile and trying it out. So I think the reluctancy is more about that, about the unknowns, than it is about it not working. Because based on that study that I had just previously mentioned from Influencer Marketing Hub, I should have mentioned before that they surveyed over 4,000 brands and agencies that do influencer marketing. And they found that it was about 72% of the brands generate higher quality leads out of influencer marketing than other traditional approaches. So the clients and customers that they're getting and attracting out of these approaches are really high quality, and they're ones that are going to stay with the brand and last the longest. Also, some other interesting statistics from that was that brands are increasing their spend for influencer marketing, and also that 84% of companies have significantly increased their content production over the last 2 years. So it really just kind of shows the numbers. It's fun to look behind the hood and see really some data around this, that the wave of content production and going digital with campaigns is really where the future was already headed, but now we were kind of like forced into this due to the current COVID pandemic. But we were kind of already seeing a trend towards this online and digital thought leadership driven approaches already. And now we're just kind of forced to look at it. So I would say the reluctancy is more around the uncertainty and not sure how to approach it and how to build the roadmaps more than anything else, because it does work for those who are doing it. You know, the numbers are there to show that it is effective.
Yes, that is. So talking about the quality of leads that the people get, so how do you think conversational AI can help in the marketing activity of any businesses?
Yeah, I think conversational AI is key to future marketing strategies. I mean, that is where it is headed, and it relates exactly back to your question of how it goes in line and hand in hand with the higher quality leads. If you can really pinpoint potential customers through using AI technology and machine learning, and being able to really provide them with the exact message and the exact answer for a question they're looking for, you're gonna get them. You know, I think the days of just sending out like blast emails or just even paid social posts, we are seeing a decline in advertising spend there because it's just kind of blasting it out. But I think the conversational AI really does a good job of connecting a person to their needs and to their answers. So I really do think it's the future of marketing.
Yeah, that is true. So what kind of other digital transformations should smaller businesses make to survive this pandemic and lockdown?
That's a really important question. And I think, first of all, companies just need to embrace digital platforms and embrace even just this conversation we're having on Zoom. Just really kind of taking the opportunity to share their knowledge. I think right now, what companies really need to be cognizant of is, I mean, you're probably getting all these emails where companies that you may have given your email address to 4 years ago are popping up out of the blue, like asking, how are you? You know, we're thinking about you. And you're kind of like, really, are you, are you just trying to tell me what you're doing? You know, I think companies really need to do a better job of listening and providing value and information that is actually helpful to people. And so in terms of focusing on ways to improve the digital transformation, I think that the conversational AI is a perfect example of that, of really kind of fine tuning what exact person is asking what exact question. How can I most efficiently give them an answer, give them a product, give them a solution to what they're looking for, and taking that blast approach that seems very impersonal. I mean, I think companies have a good intention by asking their community how they are, but also at this point, it's like, if a company doesn't have something valuable to give me, I'm just going to be ignoring it. There's so much other news and other things that I'm paying attention to. So I think really honing down and doing micro-targeting and really understanding your audience and like who you should reach out to for what reasons, and always providing the value and having conversations like this where we can share our knowledge and just get it out there. And even if one person listens to this and finds value in it, then that's great. You know, it's job well done. So I think really kind of listening and providing your expertise where you can. so that you can be helpful in this challenging time.
Yeah, that is actually helpful.
Yeah, and it's simple, like these Zoom conversations. I mean, I think before we always had this mindset where like everything had to be very glossy and companies had very stringent brand guidelines about how you talk about the brand and what you say. And, it all has to go through a marketing department and get, logos added and all this. And I kind of feel like just dump that and do what you can to get the information out there and, just be more agile and helpful, I guess.
Yeah. So on the same thing, I would like to top up that when you say that you should be targeting to a specific people, and like how do you send the message to the right audience and at the right time?
Yeah, that's like the age-old question that I think every brand kind of needs to navigate on their own, and understanding what their objectives are. Is it like somebody to click to download a white paper, or is it somebody to watch a video, or to go to a landing page with a product page? So I think it kind of depends on that, and there's a lot of different strategies to target those people, but I would say you kind of just have to do the work and work with the right people. So from an influencer marketing perspective, we, depending on what the end goal is, we would leverage a team of influencers to be able to tap into their audiences, and really kind of target from there, like who we think will find the messaging important, and take those call to actions. And there are a lot of tools out there that can help you with that as well. So what you guys do is a good example of that, of being able to provide that one-on-one, like quick communication service, which I think you guys are doing a good job at. And maybe you can explain a little bit more, but I know that you guys are doing work around COVID and helping to get information out to people. And so I know that you guys are practicing what you preach and doing this exact thing and targeting the right people with the right message. So I don't know if you want to explain that a little bit more, but.
Yes, so thank you. And what we actually did is that this was for a social cause that we thought that we would try and help people around the world. So we actually built a COVID bot, fight against COVID bot. And it is actually on how we can help people who are quarantined or in lockdown. So we have listed how to cope up with stress, how can you work from home collaboratively, how can you help your family members or your children, and what can you do to de-stress yourself, and also with the latest updates and news around the world. So we tried to consolidate all that in a single place and launch that bot and have distributed to people across the world.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's great work that you guys are doing. And that's exactly what I'm talking about, with companies using their technologies and using their expertise to provide value. So I commend you guys for doing that. And it's amazing.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So talking about using chatbots, so how do you think chatbots can, improve customer centricity in 2020?
Yeah, I think if you would have asked this question to me like 5 months ago, I would have a different answer than I do now, simply because everything is going to be very digitally focused going forward. I think that they're going to be critical to marketing infrastructures and roadmaps, and being able to find those targeted people and answer the right questions at the right time, and provide disseminating information like you're doing with the COVID project, and being able to it's like a two-way communication, where like you're reaching out and providing that information and providing that value and that opportunity for people to respond back to you, and just being able to use all the technology around AI and machine learning and being able to fine tune. And I think your product probably is like continually evolving as well to address the needs of people. So I just think it's going to be a critical component to marketing strategies going forward.
So, how does brand amplification work in the online world, and how can AI or automation help in the same?
In my space, when we leverage tech influencers, they will have across a variety of platforms. We focus a lot on Twitter because a lot of our influencers have massive followings there. Some of them have 200, 300,000 followers. And so that's just a really clear-cut way to amplify messages. When you have a team of, up to 20 influencers all coordinating together and sharing links and pushing content out, obviously that is like the biggest megaphone that a brand could have, really. So at that point, it really is a matter of making sure that you are pushing out the right content that's digestible, that's relatable, that people are going to find useful. A lot of people who are maybe going back to your question about reluctant to use influencer marketing, or people who are like skeptical about the approach, often say, well, it's kind of spammy when you have people pushing out links and it's, it's kind of like, just clickbait or whatever. But it's not when you use the right content. So when you have engaging conversations and valuable information that you're sharing, and when it's messaged in such a way that is relatable, it is the best amplification tool you can have. As as I just mentioned, that digital ads are going down. There was a statistic that was released by IAB that said 74% of brands, this data just came out at the beginning of March. So it was like with the COVID in mind, that it was at that point, 74% of brands are pulling out of their digital ad spend. And that also includes like paid promotional posts. So, because people aren't clicking on them anymore. If you see a promoted post on Twitter, you're skipping over it because you're trying to find the news, you're trying to connect with your friends. You're not really engaging with the old ways of marketing. And I say old ways because it would have been normal 5 months ago, but what was true then is not today. But anyway, so using the right voices and the right channels to amplify is one way to do it. And then also just like on a strictly like platform tech platforms, I think bots are a way to do that as well, where you can reach a significant amount of people and pushing out, consistent messaging and scheduling things. And I think the two kind of work together, where you have like the human interaction and the people that are the face of trend setting and thought leadership. But then on the other hand, you also have to have that automated like digital component too, that they're both kind of parallel and in hand to amplify each other and generate the most mass exposure possible.
So when you say about targeting platforms, so do you think that Twitter works better for B2C and not for B2B, or you just have to push your content better and any platform could work better? How does that work?
Yeah, that's a good question. It depends on what the company is doing, and also B2B versus B2C. So like Instagram, for example, is a huge mechanism for B2C marketing. But for B2B, it doesn't generate as much, because it's easy to post a product on Instagram and say, here, click here. But then when you're doing more B2B outreach, you're tending to focus more on reaching high level, in my industry, at least in the tech industry, reaching high level decision makers, because the products that my clients are selling are like multi-billion-dollar infrastructures. So they're not selling, detox tea like Kim Kardashian on Instagram. So it's a whole different ballgame. But so I would say for B2B, what the platforms that we find most valuable is LinkedIn. And we use LinkedIn a lot as the Pulse platform, which is where you can publish articles. So a lot of our influencers will host their articles on LinkedIn and post there. Of course, the video works really well on LinkedIn. But then the second one I would say is Twitter. And that is just for eyeballs and exposure. And for Twitter, again, it's all about the content. So we always suggest that our clients leverage video. So for Twitter, you can have up to 2 minutes and 20 seconds of a video. So that always generates a lot of views on that platform. But yeah, there's a lot. It depends on what your company's doing. Even like Nextdoor, for example, now is a huge platform for people trying to connect with their neighbors. So I'm not saying go spam WhatsApp Nextdoor with like your marketing messaging, but like if you're clever about it, maybe you can tap into that. Or WhatsApp, for example, like a lot of companies set up groups there and do messaging, SMS, different kinds of strategies. So it really does depend on the brand. But I would say for B2B, for us, for our current clients, Twitter and LinkedIn are the biggest hitters. And then also YouTube and podcasts too. We have one of our influencers has a podcast series on SoundCloud that generates millions of listens, like every 6 months or so, he reaches about 1 million listens. So there's a lot to choose from, and it just goes back to the audience you're trying to reach and what you're trying to promote.
Yes. And how does social media presence help in the long run for businesses?
Yeah, I love this question because, again, this is something that has never been more important than it is now. That social media, when you're building a digital footprint and building up your audiences, that's something that can't be taken away from you. I mean, companies, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Mobile World Congress, but it's one of the biggest mobile tech conferences um, every year, and it's hosted in Barcelona. And we were doing a lot of campaigns for clients there. And of course, it was canceled due to COVID. And companies lost millions of dollars. And it's like their whole entire like marketing campaigns and strategies for that quarter kind of went down the drain. And even smaller companies that put like a whole annual investment into an in-person event can just be gone like that. We learned how fragile in-person event strategies are, but no one can ever take away your digital footprint. So like there's only an upside to growing your channels. It's never going to be taken from you. If you foster it, like what you have to do is make sure that you're fostering it. It is a time commitment. But it is accessible. And I think everybody is going to be learning the value of that instead of putting all of your eggs in the in-person event basket or, other types of campaigns, I would really urge everybody, even individuals, build up your communities. Now is a really good time to think about what platforms you want to be on and just start working on it, start building it. I think that's like the best advice and where people need to be and why social platforms are so effective, because you're building something and it's friends. Like I've been on Twitter now for many years, and there's people that I've never met in person that we tweet at each other all the time. And it really is, it's like, for me, I use it for work, but it's also like my comfort blanket too. It's a community and it's really valuable.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people, yeah, and some people are kind of like quiet observers where they have like a Twitter account or they're on LinkedIn, but they don't really engage, but they just kind of like watch other people have conversations. Now I would just challenge everyone, jump in there, get involved, send tweets. Like sometimes it won't land, you might not get any likes on something, but then other times it will. And it's like, you just don't be afraid to just get in there and just start engaging, because it's more important now than ever.
Yeah, that's right. So you have been working with the technology industry for long. So what do you think are the future trends that we'll get to see?
Yeah, I would say kind of what I was just saying, that in terms of marketing future trends in the tech space is that it is just going to be very much more digital centric, and people are going to be exponentially growing their communities online and finding ways like virtual events, taking the place of in-person events, I think are going to be huge. And I think I just implore companies to just kind of throw out the old playbook and just start to think about new ways to engage with people, and different technologies like AI, machine learning. Like there's so much that companies, like, now is the time to learn about these things and to get educated and to really explore what is out there in the digital world. And I know you guys are doing a lot of work in that too. You had mentioned an ebook that you're going to put out. I assume that will kind of cover some of the important information that people need to know about conversational AI and what they can do with it. So I encourage people to, follow you guys and see what check out your ebook when it's released, and see what's out there.
Thank you for mentioning that. So I would like to just add on to what you have said, that the ebook is about how conversational AI can help in customer experience. So that would be actually good for businesses to follow at least right now and take the steps as soon as possible.
Exactly. Yeah, that's great. I can't wait to read it.
Okay. So concluding, do you have any thoughts that you'd like to leave our audiences with?
I would just say stay strong. I know it's an uncertain time and things feel weird, and I feel like we're not really going to go back to the way things were, at least for a while. So I would embrace the uncomfortableness, embrace the change, and actually use it as momentum to learn about new things, to, do all the research they can, read your ebook, do a lot of digging and a lot of like soul searching. Maybe some of the things that you were doing in your marketing strategies before, actually weren't generating the best leads or the best KPIs, but you just did them because that's what you always did. So now I think is a time that, looking at silver linings, I always like to look at the positive of every situation, even as horrific as this one is. I think that companies can find a lot of value of kind of taking a step back and evaluating what they were doing, why they were doing it, and then trying to find new ways and new technologies and platforms and strategies to achieve their goals. So good luck to everybody. I know we'll all make it through this, and just really kind of try and use it as a positive.
Yes. Thank you so much, Chelsea, for your time. I think our viewers will be really happy to listen to what you have just said and try to implement it and, be successful with whatever they are doing. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Okay.